words shocked Weston. Might his sister now change her will? He hurried after her carriage to apologize. They returned together, and Mrs. Weston now suggested that the marriage take place as soon as possible. Blifil was invited to visit Sophia again the next day. "Go to her, boy," cried Weston. "Allworthy and I can finish the agreement today. You can marry her tomorrow." Blifil did not object. Sophia's tears brightened her eyes, and her breasts rose higher with her sighs. His desire for her was mixed with pleasure at defeating his hated rival, but most of all he wanted Sophia's wealth. So Blifil pretended to love her, and said that she loved him. When the agreement was signed and the lawyers had left, Sophia's maid came running to see her. "Dear madam," said Mrs. Honour, "do not be shocked at what I have to tell you. Just now I heard my master telling Mr. Supple to get a licence for you to be married tomorrow." "Honour," said Sophia, "I am shocked. What can I do?" "Well, madam, if I was in your place, I would not find it difficult, for Mr. Blifil is a charming, sweet man." "Honour, I would kill myself first," said Sophia. "Oh, madam, don't frighten me with such wicked thoughts." "Honour," continued Sophia, "I know what I must do. I must leave my father's house this very night, and if you are my friend, you will keep me company." "Oh, I will, madam, to the world's end," answered Honour. "But where can you possibly go?" "To London," said Sophia. "I know a lady of quality there, who is a distant relation of mine. I met her when I was staying with my aunt, and she often invited me to visit her. So we will go to London." We left Tom on the road to Bristol, planning to seek his fortune at sea. When it was almost dark, he stopped at an inn for dinner, and slept a while in a chair by the fire. In the middle of the night there was a great thundering at the gate, and when the landlord opened it, the kitchen was immediately full of soldiers in red coats, all calling for beer. Tom woke up and enjoyed their company. When it was time for the soldiers to move on, they began to argue loudly about the bill. Tom stopped the argument by offering to pay. The men gave him a cheer and invited him to join them. The redcoats were fighting for King George. They were marching against a rebel army from the north. Tom supported their cause and said he would go with his new friends. They marched for a day, with much joking and laughing, and in the evening they arrived at a place where an old captain was waiting for them. The captain was surprised to see that Tom was dressed like a gentleman. He invited Tom to dinner with himself and the rest of the officers. After dinner they talked about the war. One of the officers, called Northerton, was drunk. He took a dislike to Tom, and waited for a chance to make him look foolish. The men decided to drink to the health of their ladies. When it was Tom's turn, he named Miss Sophia Weston. He could not imagine that anybody present knew her. "I knew a Sophia Weston," said Northerton. "She went to bed with half the young men of Bath. Is it the same woman?" "Impossible," said Tom. "Miss Weston is a young lady of great fashion and fortune." "Why, so she is," said Northerton, who had seen Sophia walking in Bath with her aunt. He described her exactly, and added that her father had a great property in Somerset. Tom did not really understand this kind of joke, so he turned to him and said, "Please joke about something else." "Joke?" cried Northerton. "I do not joke. Why, I remember that Tom French had both her and her aunt in bed." "Then I must tell you that you are a liar," cried Tom. Northerton cursed him and threw a bottle at his head. Tom fell to the ground and lay still. Northerton saw blood flowing from Tom's head and decided it was time to leave. But the captain stopped him and asked, "Was it true?" "Not a bit," said Northerton. "I was just having a joke." "Then," said the captain, "as your joke has killed Mr. Jones, you are my prisoner, sir, and deserve to be hanged." But Northerton broke away and escaped into the night. Chapter 11. Tom finds a friend. Tom lay on the floor with no sign of life in him. The captain sent some soldiers to chase after Northerton, and then sent a servant to get a doctor. Some officers picked up Tom's bloody body from the floor and put it in a chair. They saw that he still breathed, and began to argue about what to do. Soon the doctor arrived, and ordered his patient to be taken instantly to bed. After seeing Tom, the doctor returned downstairs, where the captain was sitting with the landlady of the inn. "Will he die?" asked the captain. "We will all die, sir," answered the doctor. "But do you think he is in danger?" asked the landlady. "I cannot say," said the doctor. "It's a terrible thing to spill human blood," said the landlady, "except when it is the blood of our enemies. I hope all our enemies are killed, for then the war will end and our taxes will be lower." Later that night, Tom woke and called for the captain. He said he felt much better, and told the captain he needed a sword so that he could fight Mr. Northerton. "I love your brave spirit, my boy," said the old captain, "but after such a blow and so much loss of blood, you are weak, and you must rest." "But what about my honour?" cried Tom. "Your honour must wait, young gentleman," said the captain, "for I am afraid Mr. Northerton has escaped." The captain left, and Tom slept again. When he woke, it was late in the afternoon, and he called for some tea. When the landlady brought it up, she said that the doctor had gone, and all the soldiers and officers had marched away. Tom asked her to prepare some food, and to send him a barber. He felt in perfect health and spirits. While he was waiting for the barber, he chose some clean clothes to wear. The barber soon arrived with soap and hot water, and began to shave Tom very slowly. Tom asked him to hurry. "I never hurry," said the barber. "Festina lente, I say." "You speak Latin," said Tom. "You are a man of learning." "A poor one, sir," said the barber. "Indeed, learning has ruined me. My father wanted me to be a dancing teacher, but instead of learning to dance, I learned to read Latin. He hated me for that, and left all his money to my brothers." "I would like to get to know you better," said Tom. "Will you do me the honour of drinking a glass with me tonight?" "Sir, I will do you 20 honours, if you wish." "How can you do that, my friend?" "Why, I will drink a whole bottle with you, if you wish. For you are a good man, and I love a good conversation." Jones now walked downstairs, neatly dressed, looking so handsome that one of the servant girls fell violently in love with him in 5 minutes. While he ate his dinner, the barber sat in the kitchen with the landlady. "He is no young gentleman," she told the barber. "I have heard he was turned away from Mr. Allworthy's house." "A servant, then?" said the barber. "What's his name?" "Jones, he told me. But perhaps he uses a false name." "If his name is Jones, he told you the truth," said the barber strangely. "And perhaps he is Mr. Allworthy's son." After dinner, Tom called for a bottle, and the barber joined him. Tom poured out a glass of wine, and raised it. "To your good health, doctissime tonsorum," he said. Ago tibi gratias domine, replied the barber. Then he asked, Sir, is it possible that your name is Jones? It is, said Tom. How strange, said the barber. Mr. Jones, you don't know me, which is not surprising, as you only saw me once when you were very young. How is the good Mr. Allworthy? You seem to know me, said Tom a little suspiciously. May I ask, sir, why you are travelling this way? Fill the glass, Mr. Barber, and ask no more questions. Oh, I apologize, sir. When a gentleman like you travels without servants, we may suppose he is in casu incognito. But I promise you I can keep a secret. That is unusual in your profession, Mr. Barber. Ah, sir, answered the barber, I was not always a barber. Non si male nunc et olim sic erit. I have spent most of my life among gentlemen. I have a great respect for you. People talked about the good nature you showed to Black George, and they loved you for it. I am your friend. Every miserable man needs a friend, and Tom was not only miserable, he was also open-hearted. The barber's behaviour and his bits of poor Latin suggested that he was no ordinary fellow. So Tom told him why he was going to sea. The barber noticed that there was one thing that Tom left out of his story. Though he said that he was Blifil's rival in love, he carefully avoided naming the young lady concerned. When the barber asked him, Tom paused a moment, then said, I trust you, sir. Her name is Sophia Weston. Mr. Weston's daughter is now a woman, cried the barber. I remember her father as a boy. Well, tempus edax rerum. Tom was tired now, and went up to his room to rest. In the morning he sent for the doctor, but he was not to be found, and the barber was called instead. Tom was surprised. I asked for the doctor, Mr. Barber, he said. I want him to open my bandage. Well, sir, replied the barber, I am also a doctor, and if you wish me to open your bandage, I am willing. Though Tom was not very confident, the man seemed serious, so he allowed him to open the bandage and look at his head. When the barber saw Tom's wound, he made shocked noises. Tom suspected he was joking. Stop playing the fool, he said angrily. What is your opinion? Answer seriously. Why then, cried the other, if I may put on a clean bandage, I promise you will soon be well. Well, Mr. Barber, or Mr. Doctor, or Mr. Barber Doctor, said Tom, as the new bandage was applied, you are one of the strangest men I ever met. There must be something very surprising in your story. I would like to hear it. You shall hear it, said his friend. But first, let me lock the door, so that we are not interrupted. He did so, and then said, I must begin, sir, by telling you that you have been my greatest enemy. I? Your enemy? Said Tom, amazed. Please don't be angry, sir, for you were just a baby and did not mean to harm me. I think you will understand everything when I tell you my name. Have you ever heard, sir, the name of Partridge? A man who was honoured to be called your father, and who was ruined by that honour. I have heard that name, said Tom, and I have always believed that I am that man's son. Well, sir, I am Partridge. But you are not my son. Chapter 12. An angel appears to a woman in trouble. Partridge was sure that this extraordinary meeting with the person who caused all his bad fortune was a sign that good fortune was coming, so he was determined to follow Tom. Tom said he would do everything in his power to help the unfortunate man. "But," he added, "perhaps you think I will be able to pay you, Mr. Partridge, but really I cannot." And he showed Partridge his purse. Now, Partridge firmly believed that Tom was Mr. Allworthy's son, and he could not imagine why that good man would send his son away. He therefore believed that Tom had made up the story and that he was actually running away from his father. If Partridge could persuade Tom to return to his father, Mr. Allworthy would certainly reward him well. He said to Tom, "I see you have very little money now, sir, but things will change in the future. I am not asking for payment. Just let me travel with you as your friend." And so, taking a few clean shirts and leaving the rest of Tom's things locked up in Partridge's house, they set off. Tom was very pleased with Partridge's company, and the two walked along together until they came to Gloucester. Here they ate dinner in an inn, and then Tom decided to continue walking through the night. The clock struck 5 as the pair left Gloucester. As it was the middle of winter, it was dark, but a bright moon gave them light. Tom remembered some romantic poems about the moon. Partridge added some comments in Latin, and they travelled on for about 5 miles in this way. Suddenly, Tom stopped and said, "Who knows, Partridge? The loveliest lady in all the world may be looking at that moon this very moment." "Perhaps, sir," said Partridge. "But if you wish to have your lady in your arms again, why don't we go back now?" "If you wish to go back," said Tom, "I will thank you and give you some money. But I am determined to go on." "Then I am determined to follow you," said Partridge. They walked on through the cold night, and when the sun came up, they found a place on a hill to sleep. Tom was the first to wake. From a wood below the hill came a woman's violent screams. Tom listened for a moment, then ran down the hill and into the wood. There he saw a shocking sight. A woman, half naked, with a belt around her neck, and a man who was trying to hang her from a tree. Tom asked no questions, but took his stick and beat the man to the ground. He continued beating him until the woman begged him to stop. The poor thing then fell to her knees and thanked him. As he lifted her up, she said, "You must be a good angel." Indeed, he was a charming figure, and if an angel has youth, health, strength, freshness, spirit, and good nature, then Tom certainly looked like one. The woman looked less like an angel. She was middle-aged, and not much of a beauty, but in her torn clothes she looked very attractive to Tom. They stood in silence until the man on the ground began to move. Looking at his face, Tom was greatly surprised to see that it was Mr. Northerton. Tom took Northerton's belt and tied his hands behind him. Then he helped him to his feet, saying, "Northerton, do you remember me? You insulted me and nearly killed me. Fortune has brought us together again for me to